Hey kids, I got a fun cartoon for you. Wizards by the legendary Ralph Bakshi made this. Same guy who made the animated Lord of the Rings back in the day, or at least the first part of that saga. Made a bunch of animated features in the early 70s. Ralph Bakshi is most famous for producing the very first animated X-rated feature, Fritz the Cat. Now, I guess I can't really show you too much of that because it is, of course, like X-rated. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen very much of that, but something about that just makes me really uncomfortable. To be quite honest, the movie we're talking about today, Wizards, there's some parts in it that make me a little uncomfortable, I guess you could say. Not that I'm a prude or anything, but yeah, there's a lot of... well, there isn't any nudity per se in here. There may as well be for the way some of the characters are dressed, female characters that is. Some of the sexual innuendo that's in this movie is a little weird. Good deal of Nazi imagery in here. It's nothing like terrible, but it's like newsreel kind of footage, and it actually shows up in this movie, and it's part of the plot. Now, I'll get to that soon. Basically, this whole thing takes place like a couple of million years after the nuclear war that basically devastated the Earth. Those that did survive are, hideous mutants. And, 2 million years later, after life returns to the planet, eventually the ancestors of man, according to this, the fantasy races start to emerge, like elves and fairies and I guess like dwarves and stuff like that. Yeah, and they begin to repopulate the Earth. And they all live in a land called Montagar. Another portion of the world, which is controlled primarily by mutants, they live in a devastated land called Scorch. It's pretty much Mordor. In the land of Montagar, the queen of the fairies gives birth to two wizards. One of them, of course, is the good guy. His name is Avatar. And another guy ends up being the bad guy, and his name is Black Wolf. Now, with names like that, of course, they're going to be pivotal, epic fantasy characters, right? Well, Black Wolf was born kind of mutated, and he's pretty much evil. He goes and does evil things. They specifically refer to him torturing small animals. But of course, Avatar grows up to be good and kind and gentle wizard. Now, when these two wizards are just about adults, I guess, their mother dies. And there's a fight between the two of them, between Avatar and Black Wolf. Avatar chases Black Wolf away and says, there's no place for you and you're evil here. Well, Black Wolf retreats and he says, well, I will form a new world where mutants rule. And so he goes to Scorch and becomes the leader of the mutants, and because he's a mutant himself and also a powerful wizard. Yeah, that happens, and so we get the division between the two kind of factions in this movie. Another 3,000 years go by, and we find ourselves in Montagar. Avatar is now, he's kind of working for the king of Montagar, instructing his daughter in the ways of magic and stuff like that, so she can become a full-fledged fairy. Her name is Eleanor, and she wears pretty questionable attire for the entire movie. Meanwhile, in Scorch, Black Wolf finds himself in possession of a projector, a movie projector, and he finds a whole bunch of Nazi propaganda films. He begins to play these propaganda films for all the mutants and all his troops and armies in Scorch, and he's hatching a plan to basically take over Montagar and control the world. Suddenly, Black Wolf has this fascist army because he saw a bunch of Hitler films, and it inspired him. So he uses his magic to kind of enhance and project it onto the battlefields to disrupt the enemy and to inspire and to whip his troops into a frenzy. Black Wolf sends out an assassin. His name is Necron 99, and he looks like I don't know, a weird like Dr. Seuss character or something like that. He's got like the saggy pajamas and a goofy antenna on his head and stuff. But he's supposed to be this deadly assassin, and he rides this weird round chicken-like horse thing. So Necron 99 infiltrates the land of Montagar, and he manages to get to the king and assassinate him right in front of Avatar and Eleanor. And they neutralize Necron 99. Now Avatar decides to use the information that Necron 99 has to get to Black Wolf in Scorch. So he keeps him alive. I'm not really sure if he kind of like reprograms him or whatever, but I guess he does. Because I think he's supposed to be like an android or something like that. He talks like really dumb like a robot. But he has a voice, he sounds like Paul Stanley for some reason. But yeah, he like reprograms him or whatever, and he renames him Peace. As in like peace, you know. And yeah, that's all well and good. And so Avatar and Eleanor and Peace, and they team up with an elf barbarian named Weehawk. So they set out for the land of Scorch and plan to take care of Black Wolf. They go to Fairyland. They meet the leader of the fairies, whose name is Sean. And he's portrayed by none other than Mark Hamill, who coincidentally a couple months later starred as Luke Skywalker in the theaters in the very first Star Wars movie. So they meet Sean, and they have a discussion with him about, you know, the state of the world and Black Wolf and the threat that he poses to Montagar. And he's immediately assassinated. His character survives about 5 minutes in this movie at the most, and they blow him away. The bad guys. They assassinate him. So the fairies, of course, think that the heroes are the ones that killed him. So they kind of take them prisoner, and they have to escape from there. So since I don't want to tell you the entire movie and like maybe the somewhat surprise ending, I don't want to go through the entire movie. But let's just say they eventually get to Black Wolf, and they deal with the problem. The end. It's a fantasy. It's this powerful enemy that wants to gather all the evil to him in the world and then force it out on the rest of the world and kill the light, kind of. It's very epic Sauron level shit going on, right? You're also going to see that kind of rotoscope, I think is what they call it, rotoscoping, where style of animation where they like basically they take like a live action footage and they like basically just paint over it. It's like a whole bunch of like stock footage from a bunch of war movies back in the day, spared no expense. Sometimes that comes off looking really cheap though, and I don't like it in here. It's jarring. That's more acceptable in this movie than it is like in Lord of the Rings, where you have like your traditionally animated main characters, and then you have all these enemies that it's totally different style of animation. Now in Wizards, I mean, Wizards is kind of a trippy, kind of a... This one's made for the long-haired freaky people of 1977. Here it works. So as a fantasy movie, yeah, it's pretty good. It's got a decent plot, and it's good. It's satisfying. The characters are okay. I don't care for Weehawk very much. I think he's an idiot, and even Avatar, I think, is kind of a bonehead. Like, he doesn't really do that much in the movie. And the animation is a little goofy in some parts, contrasted with like really dark imagery in other parts. So it's a real weird mashup of different kinds of imagery. Now, the message of the movie, I kind of get it. Basically, it's a kind of a social commentary on how people fall for propaganda and kind of ideologies of like fascism. Like, it's not promoting that, it's kind of just pointing it out and saying, hey, listen, you know, don't listen to propaganda or you're going to be a Nazi. Something like that. It's a political commentary, I guess. And then there's other parts like they're kind of stuck in there, like there's these fairy prostitutes at one point, and that's a little weird. But yeah, I mean, altogether, it works. this is a good movie all around. There's some glaring inconsistencies in tone and even the style of the animation. It's kind of all over the place. But the general theme of the movie holds fast, and it's a good watch in my opinion. So for a letter grade, let's give this one a B. I will watch this again. It's not something I'm going to watch on a regular basis. I'm not that big of a Bakshi fan. It's weird. It's goofy. And it's also serious and maybe a little disturbing. But Wizards is a fine film, and I think you should check it out. So as always, have a good one out there, everybody.